Before we get into today's video, I'm going to leave you with a question, and I want you to leave your answers in the comments, along with whatever comments you may have throughout the video. Alright, so today's question for you guys is, if you can go to the concert of your choosing, but it's a hologram concert for a dead entertainer, who would you choose? Alright, leave your answer in the comments. Now let's get into it.
We believe we can win multiple championships if we take care of business and do it the right way.
So by now you will probably know that I have a series on YouTube called Quick Talks, where I basically go into various topics, mostly sports related. I might change in the future, and I give my take on it. And my take is usually a little bit different. I try to make sure I give you a perspective that you haven't seen somewhere on ESPN or wherever. And a lot of people really seem to like it. It spurs a lot of conversation in the comments, a lot of debates also, but you know, it's all welcome as long as it's in respect. And if you haven't seen it, I'm going to leave a link to the playlist inside the description of this video, so you know, read the descriptions. I actually do write these things out, so you know, it's not just because. And every once in a while there's a video topic that's too long for a quick talk. Quick talk's going to be about 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to need some time on this. I'm not sure if it's going to be one video or two videos, but please take the time out to watch the whole thing. If you have to, come back tomorrow, but you know, or put it inside a watch later playlist or something. But this is going to be worth it. It's going to be one of those videos that wasn't put out 5 minutes after the decision happened. So, you know, I'm trying to make this entertaining for you guys, and let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know if you want to see more of this in the future, or if you just want more quick talks only. Okay, so we all know what happened over the weekend on Friday. LeBron James, he announced his decision to go back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's returning home inside of one of the most amazing sports stories, most unexpected. Well, some people kind of expected, but I thought at that point it was still kind of a wish, like being wishful thinking, rather than really truly thinking he's definitely going back. And it's really unique. Like, when was the last time you heard of something like this, especially going to a team that isn't a good team and not returning home at the end of his career when he pretty much just needs to retire with that jersey on his record. No, he's going back in the last years of his prime. He's 29 years old. It's amazing. So he signed a 2-year contract. What does that mean? Maybe he's giving them a chance. He doesn't want to be tied down there until the day he has to retire. And I have no problem with that. I'm sure if they get better, he'll stay. If not, he has the option, and it's fair. He's not promising any championships, but he's done something amazing and something very, very unique. So I believe that, I've always said this, LeBron James was the one player in the league today who could automatically make any team into a playoff team. I've said this back when he was on the Cavaliers, because he was that good, that versatile, and that effective. Name one team in this league where you could take the best player off of one team and can't at least push them into the 8th seed. Name one team that you truly think, and also, you gotta remember, these teams will improve while he's there. The same way the Cavaliers just completely, they look like a college team. They look worse than a college team. I really thought some NCAA teams could stand a chance against them, maybe in a 7-game series. That's how bad they looked after LeBron James was gone. They were giving up record losses. It's the same thing when Michael Jordan left the Bulls in '98. Well, sure, they lost Scottie Pippen also and Dennis Rodman, but you see what happens. They go from the top of the East to the bottom of the East, and that's what happens when you take away the best player in the league from a team. And conversely, this is the same thing that will happen when you take him from a good team to a bad team. So I believe this is bigger than basketball. LeBron James, he's going to save the city of Cleveland with his presence. Kevin Durant is already the most famous man in Oklahoma, probably like ever. Can you tell me the name of one of their mayors or governors? LeBron James has always been a nice guy with a pretty decent heart, and he's a philanthropist, he's an entrepreneur, he does a lot. He does a lot. I don't know where he finds the time to do all this while remaining so dedicated to basketball and keeping himself in shape and injury free. It's amazing. He must have a 25th hour. I don't know about it. And he could mean $1 billion to Cleveland businesses, to things involving basketball. His presence alone could indirectly change the lives of the people in the city of Cleveland that had no chance to obtain these opportunities prior to his arrival. Like, we've seen this in recent years with them. He gave up a near surefire trip to the finals in the East for a chance to cement his legacy. He already had his 2 rings. He lost 3 times, although the first time it's really not fair to count that 07 finals against him. That one was over. That game was, he lost the 07 finals so bad and he stood no chance. It was to the point where I really thought that the Spurs won the whole series in 3 games. That's how bad the 07 finals was, like, the matchup was. It really should have been a rematch of the Pistons versus the Spurs, but you know, LeBron James got in the way of that. So what does this all mean? It means the balance of power shifted. In a matter of 1 hour, Miami went from being the 3-1 favorite to win the title ahead of the Spurs. Now they're 100-1. Well, it's going to change because Chris Bosh has officially announced that he's going to return, and at that time they thought he was going to the Rockets. But, you know, the going to the Rockets wasn't that easy because of Chandler Parsons, and they still had Jeremy Lin at the time when they made that poll or whatever. You know, I tend to do a lot of sports gambling, so I really know how big of a difference this is between 3-1 and 100-1. Although you don't really need to be a mathematician to tell that 3 and 100 is a big difference. But the Cavaliers, they're now 2-1, and that is an astronomical change. If you were to bet money on the Cavaliers to win it all before this weekend, like if you really had a feeling and you bet on Thursday, you would go from, you could become partially rich based off of how much money you bet. You could become partially rich. If you were to put down $2,000 and you watch their number change, that's, oh my goodness, I'm not even gonna get into that. God forbid you did a parlay on something else. Oh my goodness, that's just so much money raking in. This also means that the Eastern Conference will be a hell of a lot more entertaining to watch next season. When the Heat came together, they combined a trio of not only 3 players from arguably a top 2 all-time draft class, you know, the 84, the 96, the 04, but also they had 3 of the top 5 players in player efficiency ranked that season: LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. This instantly propelled them to the top of the Eastern Conference in the power rankings. That's the LeBron James effect. So how did this affect the Cavaliers? They instantly take the lead spot in the Eastern Conference power rankings. That statement applies to their current roster before any potential trades or pickup occur, such as a Kevin Love. Their starting lineup has a 4-time MVP, 2 of the last 3 All-Star MVPs, 2 recent All-NBA defensive team players, and 3 #1 draft picks. Their bench consists of another first overall draft pick and the reigning Rising Stars MVP, and plenty of trade bait. So right now, the Cavaliers, as constructed, they got rid of their GM last season and they got rid of their coach. So that means we have an owner GM, and we currently have a coach who has no coaching experience in terms of NBA coaching. But luckily for the team, LeBron James is the closest thing we have to a player coach. He said when he played and when he didn't play last season. So who knows? Maybe he can fix this, because his work ethic is close to unparalleled in this league. The only player who can rival him is Kobe Bryant, and that says a lot. The team has a lot of untapped potential, and we know this. We see how good they are and what they're supposed to be based off of projections, and we see what they're currently doing. There is no reason for so many young lottery picks to produce so little. Luol Deng went from a recent All-Star to irrelevant in half a season. He did everything short of saying that the way things were handled in Cleveland were a joke compared to Chicago. LeBron James was in that environment with the same coach 4 years prior and still managed to win 60+ games. He will force them to improve during the final years of his peak. Believe that. But enough about the Cavaliers. Let's talk about the Heat. How does this affect the Heat? The Heat gambled and they lost. They knew that LeBron had a possibility of leaving regardless of the promise of
Not 2, not 3, not 4.
You get the point, but they expected him to stay regardless. They did this at the expense of assembling a real team and developing talent. Unless you call Mario Chalmers and Norris Cole talent. The Heat basically had a roster filled with expiring contracts, just like the Lakers. The only difference is that they had 3 All-Stars in the starting lineup. They would have had a struggle to assemble a solid roster before the Big Three split, and now they have an even bigger challenge without their best player returning. This required the Heat to go out and go from underpaying to grossly overpaying their 2 remaining players just to stay in playoff contention. Unless they can get more veterans willing to play for less, they will have to make trades or develop young talent. Their time in the sun is most likely past. So let's expand on this. Let's talk about the entire Eastern Conference. What happens to the East? The Eastern Conference will have a lot more balance for their first half of the year. The only competition to the Cavaliers will most likely be Indiana, Chicago. Now they got Pau Gasol. And Miami. Still, they still are a contender as long as they manage to secure Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade manages to play at least, I don't know, 35 games next season. Also Charlotte, they're a young team, they're hungry, they're getting better, their players are getting closer to their prime. Their star players are, not stars, but their key pieces are not old, so who knows, maybe with another year of chemistry, they might really be a solid 5th seed. And if their players can make a large jump in the offseason, probably the Wizards. Well, they didn't manage to retain Trevor Ariza, but they did get Paul Pierce. A much older, he's not as great at defense as he used to be. I don't know where he's going to play with the big front line of Nene and Gortat. Maybe he'll go back to his original position of small forward, but then he has to worry about speed issues on defense, and I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm surprised Paul Pierce went there, but this isn't about Paul Pierce. We'll talk about that another day. And also, you have to make sure that you keep John Wall healthy. That team is good when John Wall is healthy. When John Wall is not healthy, that team, they might not even make the playoffs, honestly. The main reason why the Heat managed to make it onto that list at the end is because they gave Luol Deng and Danny Granger, and they took a key piece from Charlotte. So, you know, they look like they have their role players set up. They might retain 2 of their star players, and they can still make some noise. I don't think they're going to really go anywhere in the playoffs, but they're going to make some noise still. I would have felt a lot better about Chicago or Washington had they picked up Luol Deng, because he can replace Trevor Ariza. It's pretty much the same thing, but a little bit better. Well, not a little bit. And if you went back to Chicago, they could have just kept Powell, kept Noah at the big front line, offense and defense. Then they could have put Luol Deng at small forward, let him be the LeBron slower downer that he is. Kept Jimmy Butler at shooting guard because he's smaller, and you know he plays defense, man. Tib works him like, I'm not gonna say nothing controversial, but that guy he played like 53 minutes inside of a playoff game this year, like, and then had to play the next night for 40 something. This guy, he just doesn't complain. He just does his job, and he does it well. And then also for point guard, if Derrick Rose can stay healthy. You know, I'm not going to try to jinx the guy. He went through a lot already, you know, but if he does stay healthy and he comes somewhat back to 80% of what he used to be, that team's a problem. That team is a big problem. So that's the Eastern Conference in a nutshell. The other teams are pretty much just fighting for the pointless 6, 7, and 8 spot in the East. And the Pistons, I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't really see much improvement during the offseason. The Hawks, they're going to get Horford back, so maybe they'll be positive next year, but they're not going to win anything. The Knicks aren't going to go anywhere. The Nets are losing their important pieces. The East it's pretty bad, but at least there's some entertaining pieces at the top rather than just 2 pieces. And we definitely have to see what happens with Lance Stevenson. He turned down a 5-year, $44 million contract. I don't know who he thinks he is, but he better take this money while they're offering it to him. Because if he doesn't, well, the only way I can see him not wanting to go back is because they did throw him under the bus in the playoffs. Everybody threw him under the bus in the playoffs, even though he's one of the best players on the team at the time. If he went to Chicago and they moved Jimmy Butler to small forward, my goodness, Indiana, you're toast. And this topic, I hinted about it earlier with Kevin Love going to the Cavs. We don't know if it's a possibility. They're talking about how they want Wiggins, and the Cavs, they're saying they're not giving up Wiggins, which I completely agree with. People like taking the easy way out. I personally would not trade Andrew Wiggins. Not just because I really like Andrew Wiggins, but because why would you give away the most hyped player since LeBron James himself for like okay, think of it like this. Kevin Love is a good player. He was expected to be good. Andrew Wiggins was expected to be great. Why would you give that up for a 2-year contract with LeBron? I mean, sure, it'd be great to have that, but if you can find a way to get him and give up something else that isn't Andrew Wiggins, I would do it. I would take a loss, but I would not take that big of a loss. Because the Cavs, there's no way they're going to get that from Flip Saunders without a fight. They are upset about having to lose Kevin Love, and they're not going to give him away. They're going to try to make you basically, they're going to rob you if you want to take him. The same way that the Rockets were trying to do with Osik last year. One team is going to have to lose a lot. Will it be the Cavaliers sacrificing their future? Or will it be the Timberwolves giving up the best player they've had in the last 7 years since Kevin Garnett himself? If they give up for anything less than Wiggins, honestly, they're going to fall off the radar and they're going to go into the basketball hells currently occupied by Philadelphia, not for long though, Utah, and Milwaukee. And that is one place you do not want to occupy, whether it be the team or the location. So this is what I think is going to happen if Kevin Love was to come to the Cavaliers. I think he would have to quickly accept the change in the player role. You're not going to be some high 20-30% player usage rate player anymore. You're still going to be an all-star. You're still going to be good. I don't know how it's going to work out on defense, but his offense is going to be greatly appreciated because you can't, if he was a double-team target and LeBron was a double-team target, sure, he can space the floor, and on defense, he'll give you those rebounds. He's not going to block a shot, but he's going to give you those rebounds. So he's going to end the possession if you can manage to play that defense that we know LeBron James and Andrew Wiggins and Anderson Varejao can definitely play. So he's going to have to accept the role. He's going to have to know that he's not going to be a 25-point scorer anymore unless they really... No, he's not going to be, because Kyrie Irving brings the ball up the court, and it's up to him whether you're going to touch it. We know that they don't even have a person on the team who could really throw a solid entry pass into the post, so Kevin Love's numbers are going to go down. He's not going to average no 26 points a game while LeBron averages 26 and Kyrie averages 22. It's not happening. It's just not happening. So he's going to have to adjust. And if they can do this successfully, they can win it maybe this year. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that because the Spurs are coming back together. And Kawhi Leonard's 1 year older, closer to his prime. I still think the Spurs have it, but I think it's going to be... Well, I'm going to tell you this in a second. Who are the favorites to win the whole thing? I already told you, I think, #1 in the East, Cavs. #1 in the West, Spurs. Based on the currently constructed league rosters today at this moment. Check the date in the description in case you're coming by and checking this video out a year from now, and then, you know, I don't know, there's a super team somewhere in Oklahoma or something like that. The Bulls and the Thunder will be the second place teams in the conference finals, based off of no injuries and today's currently constructed rosters. Although there are going to be some changes, as long as the top 4 teams don't make big changes, I think this is what's going to happen. The other teams are nearly irrelevant unless there's a major injury, like I just spoke of. Like if, for instance, Derrick Rose gets injured again, that's going to hurt them. They're not going to be top 4. If Paul George was to get injured, you know, they stand no chance at all of being in the top 4 on the, you know, overall in the league. If Russell Westbrook's leg or his knee or his meniscus mess up again, or who knows, maybe Tim Duncan might get injured because the Spurs were injured and Tony Parker's health is, you know, it's not what it used to be. Although Pop is pretty good at developing backup point guards, just like the way Tibbs is, because we saw that with Nate Robinson, and DJ Augustin, Corey Joseph, and the emergence of Patty Mills. So that's what a good coach does, and we're going to have to see what happens. We're definitely going to have to see what happens with the way things shake up. But that's my opinion based off. If you made it this far, I thank you. I really appreciate that. If you guys like what I said, if you don't like what I said, you want to debate what I said, you want to agree with what I said, you want to answer the question at the beginning of it, you want to talk about the random things you see on the screen about the gameplay. Whatever you want to talk about, leave it in the comments. I like comments. I like comments more than likes. But if you did watch 19 minutes worth of a video, by now you probably should like it. You know, I'm just saying. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stayed there that long. Let me know if you want more long talks in the future. If you want to give me an idea that you want to talk about, if you want to give me a quick talk idea that you want to talk about, if you just want to ask me a general question, the place to do it is Twitter. I do tweet a lot during these free agencies, but I leave the good stuff for the videos. I just leave the conversation topics for the Twitter. So, you know, Let's talk. Follow me on Twitter at Greco.